All right, let's just jump right in. I want to start with a bit of a riddle. It's about a place that you can find on every single map in the world, a country the UN recognizes, but a place that just vanishes. It completely disappears when you look at our planet from space at night.
Just think about that for a second. Now get this image in your head. A satellite picture of the Korean peninsula after the sun goes down. To the north, you've got the blazing lights of China's industry. And to the south, the incredible glow of South Korea, just this beacon of modern life. But right there, squished in the middle, there's a black hole. An almost total void of light, a patch of pure darkness.
Now, that void, it's not an ocean. It's not some empty desert. It's a country, and it's home to 25 million people. We're talking about the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or, as pretty much everyone calls it, North Korea. And that darkness, it makes you wonder, right? Is it just that they don't have enough electricity? Or is that darkness intentional? Today, we're going to put together a puzzle. Piece by piece, we're going to explore the absolutely terrifying reality of daily life there to get to the bottom of one huge question. How in the world does this dictatorship still exist in the 21st century?
So the first piece of our puzzle, the very foundation of this whole regime, it doesn't start in a city or a nice home. It starts inside a prison. And it's a story that shows us the bedrock of fear that the entire country is built on. It's the story of a man named Shin Dong-yuk.
Shin was born back in 1982, inside a place called Camp 14. It's one of North Korea's most brutal political prison camps. I mean, he grew up behind high-voltage electric fences, literally thinking the whole world was a prison just like his. To survive, he ate rats, insects, grass, whatever he could find. But here's the absolute kicker to his story. Shin himself never committed a crime. Not one. He was born a criminal just because of who his family was.
So how is that even possible? Well, it's because of this terrifying, unique rule that holds the whole system of control together: guilt by association. It's an official state policy. It says that if one person is accused of a political crime, like trying to escape or saying something bad about the regime, their whole family is considered just as guilty. The thinking is that the bad blood of a traitor has to be completely washed out of the population. And this policy doesn't just stop with them. It goes on for 3 whole generations. So let's walk through this. Let's say your grandfather gets accused of a political crime. He's sent to a prison camp for the rest of his life. Okay, now under this rule, his son, your father, is also rounded up and thrown in prison, even if he did absolutely nothing. And then you, the grandchild, you're born inside that camp. You are destined to live your entire life and die there, never even knowing what freedom is, all to wipe out the tainted family line of your grandfather. Shin Dong-yuk's story is so incredible because he's the only person we know of who was born in one of these camps and actually managed to escape and tell the world what's going on. His life shows us the foundation of North Korea. Just absolute, unimaginable terror.
But look, terror alone can't control 25 million people every single minute of every single day. For that, you need something way more subtle, way more insidious. You have to control every tiny little detail of daily life. So let's step out of the horror of the prison camps for a moment and into the capital city, Pyongyang, where life is basically a performance, choreographed down to the last detail.
So imagine you wake up, you want to get dressed. It's not that simple. Feel like wearing a pair of blue jeans? Nope, banned. They're seen as a symbol of American imperialism. What about skinny jeans? Also banned. Too foreign, too decadent. Thinking about dyeing your hair? That's illegal. A short skirt? Not a chance. And these aren't just, social no-nos. These are violations of state rules, and they're enforced by actual fashion police, groups of officials and citizen patrols who just roam the streets. And if they decide your look is unacceptable, they can fine you, humiliate you in public, or even cut your hair right there on the spot.
And this control goes right down to your hair. These are the officially state-approved hairstyles. You get 15 choices for men and 15 for women. You have to pick one from this list. There is zero room for personal expression. Your very appearance becomes a statement of your conformity, your loyalty to the state. It's this constant, visible reminder that you don't own yourself, the regime owns you.
And this control, it goes from how you look on the outside right into the digital world. You might have a smartphone in North Korea, but it's nothing like the ones we have. It can't connect to the global internet, it can't make international calls, but there's more. There's a ghost in the machine, a feature specifically designed to watch everything you do.
At random, totally unpredictable times, the phone's state-run operating system will take a screenshot of whatever is on your screen in that exact moment. You have no idea when it's going to happen. And that screenshot, it gets sent directly to state security agencies. They know what articles you're reading, what videos you're watching, what messages you've sent. This creates this terrifying psychological trap. It's called the panopticon effect. It's the feeling that you're always being watched, which forces you to police your own behavior, to make sure you never step out of line, not even when you think you're alone.
So if your life is this controlled, you might be asking, well, why don't people just vote the leaders out? And that brings us to the next absolutely crucial piece of the puzzle, the powerful illusion of choice and the rigid social hierarchy that controls every citizen's life from the second they're born.
So here's a wild fact for you. North Korea actually has elections every 5 years. And even crazier, the official voter turnout is almost always 99.9%. I mean, it sounds democratic, almost unbelievably so. But like with everything in North Korea, there's a catch. There's a trick that turns this democratic-looking ritual into a really sinister test of loyalty.
And this explains exactly how it works. When you go to vote, you're handed a ballot paper and there's only one candidate's name on it. To vote yes, all you do is take the paper and drop it in the ballot box. Simple, public, easy. But to vote no, you have to walk over to a separate, special booth, pick up a red pen, and physically cross out the name. And this whole time, officials and secret police are watching you. Voting no isn't dissent, it's basically political suicide. You and your entire family would be investigated immediately. So yeah, it's not an election, it's a mandatory loyalty test designed to find anyone who might be even thinking about being disloyal.
Now, how you perform in this loyalty test, and really your whole life, is already decided for you by a rigid caste system called songbun. From the day you're born, every single citizen is put into one of 3 classes based on how loyal their family was during the Korean War. At the very top, you've got the core class, the elite. These are the kids and grandkids of war heroes and the most loyal followers of the Kim family. They get to live in the capital, Pyongyang. They get the best education, the best jobs, the best food. In the middle is the wavering class, and that's most people. They're seen as neutral, just average folks who have to be watched closely. And at the very bottom, you have the hostile class. These are the descendants of landlords, people who collaborated with the enemy, Christians, or anyone else the state sees as an enemy. They're forced to live in the absolute harshest parts of the country, work in mines, and they're denied decent food and education. Your songbun is your destiny. You can't change it. It decides who you can marry, where you can live, and if your kids have any future at all.
Okay, so you've got a society built on pure fear and a rigid caste system, but how do you get millions of people to not just put up with all this misery, but to actually embrace it? Well, you do it by replacing God with a dynasty, and this might be the most important piece of psychological control in the entire puzzle.
In North Korea, all religion is basically banned. The Bible is an illegal book. Instead, the Kim family, the founder Kim Il-sung, his son Kim Jong-il, and now his grandson Kim Jong-un, are treated like gods. It is mandatory to have portraits of the first 2 leaders in every single home and every public building. You have to keep them perfectly clean. And here's the most chilling rule of all. Official state doctrine says that if your house catches on fire, it is your duty to save the portraits of the Kims before you save your own family members, before your own children. And this isn't just some suggestion. People have been celebrated as national heroes for letting their kids die while they save the portraits. It just shows you the absolute total devotion the state demands.
This godlike worship was put to the ultimate test back in the 1990s. When the Soviet Union collapsed, the cheap food, fuel, and aid that had been propping up North Korea's economy just vanished overnight. The country was plunged into this catastrophic famine, which the regime gave the very pleasant name of the Arduous March. The numbers are just staggering and honestly hard to nail down, but historians and aid groups figure that somewhere between 500,000 and 2 million people starved to death. People were eating tree bark, grass, frogs, anything to stay alive. And yet, through all of that, the regime didn't collapse. They locked down the borders, they tightened their grip on information, and they told their starving citizens that the rest of the world was suffering even more, and that only the Kim family could protect them in their socialist paradise.
For decades, this wall of lies, a wall built on fear and worship, it held strong. This kingdom of darkness seemed like it would last forever. But recently, a crack has started to appear in the armor. And the weapon that's threatening this powerful regime, well, it didn't come from an army or a missile. It came in a much, much smaller and more unexpected package.
That's right. The biggest threat to the Kim dynasty today is a simple USB stick. Activists and smugglers risk their lives to bring flash drives and SD cards loaded with foreign media over the border, and they're filled with South Korean dramas, K-pop music videos, and Hollywood movies. See, when a North Korean citizen secretly watches a K-drama, They're not just seeing a love story. They're seeing what's in the background. They see refrigerators stuffed with food, roads without potholes, cool clothes, and people who speak their own language, but with freedom. For the very first time, they're seeing real, tangible proof that the government has been lying to them their entire lives. And right alongside this information revolution, there's a quiet economic revolution going on, and it's being led by women. After the state-run economy totally collapsed during the famine, men were still forced to show up to their dead, unpaid government jobs. They couldn't feed their families, so the women, they took things into their own hands. They started illegal black markets called jungmadang. They started selling smuggled goods, homemade food, whatever they could find just to get by. Today, these markets are the real economy in North Korea, and it's the women who hold the economic power in most families. Money is starting to mean more than loyalty to the state. And when people start depending on themselves in the market instead of the dictator for survival, well, his grip starts to get a little bit weaker.
So there it is. The puzzle is assembled. We've seen the foundation of absolute terror, the daily choreography of total control, the unbreakable destiny of the caste system, and the cult of a god king trying to hold it all together. But that whole structure is now fighting a new kind of war. A war against a USB stick filled with information and the economic power of women in the black markets. In the end, North Korea is more than just a country. It's like a time capsule of pure totalitarian control. But that dark spot we saw from space, it's not as solid as it looks. Inside, millions of homes, tiny little screens from phones and media players are lighting up with information, with truth. And if history has taught us anything, it's that no wall lasts forever, and no winter goes on forever. And that light, it doesn't matter how small or how scattered it is the one thing that darkness can never, ever truly defeat. So the question is, what do you think will be the final crack that lets all that light come flooding in?